Jake was not supposed to be here. He was just a translator, the lowest-ranking member of the human team sent to meet the aliens. His job was simple: stand in the back, keep quiet, help with language problems if needed. That was it. But Jake had a problem. He really needed to find a bathroom. The space station called Harmony Point was huge. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Hundreds of alien species came here to talk, trade, and make peace. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Concord 6 months ago. They were the new ones, the small ones, the ones everyone was watching to see if they would mess up. And Jake was about to mess up very badly. He walked down a long hallway looking for any sign that might point to a restroom. The signs were all in alien languages he did not know. Some looked like circles, some looked like waves. None of them made any sense. He turned left, then right, then left again. Soon he had no idea where he was. The hallway became darker. The walls changed from bright white to deep purple. Strange symbols were painted on the floor in silver. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. This was not the right place. He should turn back. He knew he should turn back. But then he saw a door at the end of the hall, slightly open, with soft blue light coming from inside. Maybe someone in there could give him directions. Jake pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was large and round. The ceiling was high and covered with tiny lights that looked like stars. In the center of the room, a figure sat on the floor with her legs crossed and her forearms resting on her knees. Her skin was silver blue, smooth like metal but soft-looking. Her eyes were closed. She was at least 7 feet tall, even while sitting. Jake stopped breathing. He knew what she was. He had studied the files. She was one of the most powerful warrior species in the galaxy. The Empire controlled over 40 star systems. Their soldiers were famous for being the deadliest fighters anyone had ever seen. And he had just walked into a private room where one of them was meditating. The woman opened her eyes. They were gold, bright and burning like 2 small suns. She rose to her feet in one smooth motion. She was even taller than Jake had thought. Her forearms reached for the weapons at her belt. Jake's brain stopped working. His mouth did not. "You're amazing," he said, his voice shaking. "Please don't kill me, I'm just lost. I was looking for the bathroom." The words came out before he could stop them. It was what always happened when Jake was scared. He made jokes. He said stupid things. His sister Molly always told him it would get him in trouble one day. That day had arrived. The woman stared at him. Her golden eyes went wide. Her 4 hands froze in the air, halfway to her weapons. And then something strange happened. She laughed. It was not a small laugh. It was a real laugh, deep and warm, that filled the whole room. Her shoulders shook. Her eyes sparkled. She covered her mouth with one of her hands while the other 3 dropped to her sides. Jake did not understand what was happening, but at least she was not killing him. That seemed like a good sign. "I am sorry," he said quickly. "I did not mean to come in here. I will leave now. Please forget this happened." He turned to run, but her voice stopped him. "Wait." Jake froze. He slowly turned back around. The woman was looking at him with an expression he could not read. Her laughter had stopped, but there was still something soft in her golden eyes. Something that had not been there before. "You made me laugh," she said. Her voice was deep but gentle. "During the hour of sacred meditation. Do you know what that means?" Jake shook his head. "I really don't. I'm sorry. I'm just a translator. I don't know customs." She took a step toward him, then another. She was so tall that Jake had to look up to see her face. Up close, he could see that her silver blue skin had tiny patterns on it, like very faint tattoos that moved and shifted. "My name is," she said. "I am the personal bodyguard of Queen of the Empire." Jake felt his knees go weak. The Queen's bodyguard. He had interrupted the Queen's bodyguard. "I'm Jake," he managed to say. "Jake, I'm nobody important." Tilted her head. You spoke true words to me during the sacred hour. You called me amazing. You showed no false pride. You showed no fear of death, only honesty. Actually, I was very afraid of death, Jake said. I was extremely afraid of death. I still am. Laughed again, softer this time. And yet you still spoke truth. That is rare, that is precious. She reached out with one of her hands and touched his shoulder. Her touch was surprisingly gentle. By the ancient laws of my people, she said, when two souls share true laughter during the sacred hour, they are bound. It is called the soul bond. It cannot be broken. Jake blinked. I'm sorry, what? You are my now, continued. My chosen one, my life partner. The room started spinning. Jake grabbed the wall to keep himself standing. You're what? In your human words, said calmly, I believe the term is husband. Jake opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. No words came out. I must go inform my queen, said. She will be pleased. A bond during the sacred hour has not happened in 300 years. This is a great honor. She walked past him toward the door, her four arms swinging gracefully at her sides. Wait, Jake finally managed to say. I didn't agree to anything. I just made a joke because I was scared. Stopped at the door and looked back at him. Her golden eyes were warm. The best bonds always start that way, she said. I will see you soon, Jake, my husband. And then she was gone. Jake stood alone in the empty room, his heart pounding in his chest. He had come to space to translate documents and help with small diplomatic tasks. He was supposed to be invisible, unimportant, safe. Instead, he had accidentally married a 7-foot-tall alien warrior princess. His sister was never going to believe this. Jake ran back to the human quarters as fast as his legs could carry him. He got lost twice more on the way, but he did not care. He needed to tell someone what had happened. He needed someone to tell him it was all a mistake. He found his room and locked the door behind him. He sat on his bed and tried to breathe normally. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe he had hit his head somewhere. Maybe the alien food he had eaten earlier was making him see things. But deep down, he knew it was real. He could still feel the gentle touch of his hand on his shoulder. He could still see her golden eyes looking at him with that strange, soft expression. 3 hours passed. Jake did not leave his room. He tried to sleep but could not. He tried to read but the words made no sense. He just sat there waiting for something to happen. And then something happened. There was a knock on his door. It was not a normal knock. It was loud and formal, the kind of knock that important people used. Jake opened the door and found 2 human security officers standing there. Their faces were serious. Mister, one of them said, Ambassador Hayes wants to see you immediately. Please come with us. Jake's stomach dropped. The ambassador was the leader of the entire human delegation. She was one of the most powerful people in Earth's government. She did not meet with junior translators, ever. Unless that translator had done something very, very wrong. Jake followed the officers through the station. They walked for 10 minutes until they reached the main hall of the human section. The doors were already open. Inside, Jake saw something that made his heart stop. Ambassador Hayes stood in the center of the room. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had led humanity through its first contact with aliens. She was not someone who got surprised easily. But right now she looked surprised. Behind her stood the rest of the human diplomatic team, about 20 people in formal clothes. They were all staring at the other side of the room. Jake followed their eyes and felt his legs go weak. Queen of the Empire was standing there. She was even taller than almost 8 feet tall. Her skin was dark purple, and her forearms were covered with golden jewelry. She wore a crown made of white crystal that floated above her head without touching it. Her eyes were deep red, like 2 pools of blood. And standing right beside her was, still in her warrior armor, her golden eyes fixed on Jake. "Ah," said the queen, her voice like music and thunder mixed together. "There he is, the one who has been claimed." Everyone in the room turned to look at Jake. Ambassador Hayes walked over to him quickly. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of questions. "Mister," she said quietly, "do you want to explain why the Queen is here to congratulate us on your marriage?" Jake opened his mouth, but no words came out. The Queen laughed softly. "He is shy, that is good. Humble partners make the best bonds." She walked toward Jake with slow, graceful steps. When she reached him, she looked down at him the way a person might look at a small but interesting insect. "I am told you made my bodyguard laugh during the sacred hour," she said. "This has not happened in 300 years. The last time it happened, it started a golden age for my people. Perhaps you will bring us luck, little human." Jake finally found his voice. "Your Majesty, I think there has been a mistake. I just made a joke. I was scared and I said something stupid. I didn't know about your customs." The Queen raised one of her eyebrows. "A mistake? The soul bond is never a mistake. The universe chose you. Soul recognized yours, that is fate." "But I didn't choose anything," Jake said. "I was just looking for the bathroom." The room went silent. The human diplomats looked horrified. The guards behind the Queen reached for their weapons. But the Queen just laughed again. It was a long, loud laugh that filled the entire hall. "Looking for the bathroom," she repeated. "You have chosen a funny one, I like him." Stepped forward. Her face was as calm as stone, but Jake thought he saw a tiny smile at the corner of her lips. "He speaks without fear," said. "He says what he thinks. Among our people, that is the sign of a true warrior's heart." "I'm really not a warrior," Jake said weakly. "I translate documents, that's my job." Ambassador Hayes put her hand on Jake's arm. She pulled him aside gently while the Queen watched with amusement. "Listen to me carefully," Hayes whispered. "The Empire is one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. If we insult them by rejecting this bond, humanity's position in the conquered could be destroyed. We just got here. We can't afford to make enemies." Jake stared at her. "Are you telling me to go along with this?" "I'm telling you to buy us time," Hayes said. "Let us figure out a solution. Play along for now. Can you do that?" Jake looked back at. She was watching him with those golden eyes, waiting. She did not look angry or demanding. She just looked patient. "Fine," Jake said. "But if I end up actually married to an alien warrior, I want a raise." Hayes almost smiled. "Deal." That night, after the Queen and her guards had left, Jake sat alone in the garden area of the human section. He was looking up at the stars through the glass ceiling, thinking about how strange his life had become. He heard footsteps behind him. He turned and saw walking toward him. She had taken off her armor and was wearing simple dark clothes. Without the weapons and metal, she looked different, almost gentle. She sat down next to him on the bench. They did not speak for a long time. Finally broke the silence. "I know this is not what you wanted," she said. "I can see the fear in your eyes, the confusion." Jake sighed. "I just don't understand any of this. I'm nobody. I'm not important. Why would your customs pair you with someone like me?" Looked up at the stars. "Among my people, the soul bond is the most sacred thing. It does not care about rank or power. It only cares about truth. When you spoke to me in that room, you were honest. You did not try to be brave. You did not try to impress me. You were just yourself." She turned to look at him. "I have been a bodyguard for 300 years. I have met kings and generals and warriors. None of them ever made me laugh. None of them ever showed me their true self. You did. In one moment you did." Jake did not know what to say. "I will not force you into anything," continued. "I have studied your people. I know you value choice above all things. So I make you this promise, Jake. I will earn your trust. I will prove myself to you. And if after everything you still wish to leave, I will release you with honor. No shame. No anger, just respect." Jake looked at her for a long moment. She meant every word. He could see it in her eyes. "Okay," he said softly. "I guess we can try." Nodded. For the first time, she gave him a real smile. "Thank you," she said. "Husband." Jake groaned. "Please don't call me that yet." Smile grew wider. "I will call you whatever I wish. That is my right as your wife." Despite everything, Jake laughed. Maybe this would not be so bad after all. 3 days after the Queen's visit came to Jake with news. She explained that before their bond could become official, Jake had to pass something called the Trial of Worth. It was an ancient tradition. Every claimed partner had to prove they deserved the bond. Jake saw this as his way out. There was no way a human translator could pass alien warrior trials. He would fail, the bond would dissolve, and everyone could go back to their normal lives. But as explained the trials, Jake started to feel something strange. A small part of him did not want to fail. A small part of him wanted to see what he was capable of. The first trial was called the Challenge of Mind. Jake was brought to a large room filled with screens and holographic displays. In the center was a table with a glowing map on it. The map showed two armies facing each other across a mountain range. The judge, an old warrior with scars on all four of his arms, explained the rules. Jake would control one army. A computer would control the other. He had to win the battle using only strategy and planning. Jake sat down at the table and looked at the map. His army was smaller than the enemy. His soldiers were weaker. By all normal logic, he should lose. But Jake had grown up playing strategy games. His father had taught him chess when he was 5 years old. His friends in school had always laughed at how serious he got about video games. What they called wasting time, Jake called practice. He started moving his pieces. The judges watched with confused expressions. Instead of attacking the enemy head-on, Jake sent small groups around the mountains. He used his weakest soldiers as distractions while his stronger ones snuck behind enemy lines. He set traps in places the computer did not expect. He retreated when he should have attacked, and attacked when he should have retreated. The computer did not know what to do. It was programmed to fight against tactics, not human ones. Every move Jake made surprised it. After 2 hours, Jake won. His army captured the enemy flag while losing only half of his soldiers. The judges looked at each other with wide eyes. The old warrior with the scars actually laughed. "He fights like a snake," the judge said. "No honor, no direct combat, just tricks and traps." Stepped forward. "Among humans, that is called being clever." The judge nodded slowly. "Clever, yes, he passes the first trial." Jake let out a breath he did not know he was holding. The second trial was called the Challenge of Heart. For this one, Jake had to stand before the council and speak about what he valued most in life. They believed that a person's heart could be seen in what they loved. Jake stood in a circular room surrounded by 20 elders. Their eyes were all fixed on him. Queen sat on a throne above them, watching with interest. Jake's mouth felt dry. He was not good at speeches. He was not good at talking about feelings. But he thought about his sister Molly back on Earth, and the words started to come. "I have a younger sister," he began. "Her name is Molly. When we were kids, our parents worked all the time. They were never home, so I took care of Molly. I made her breakfast. I helped her with homework. I walked her to school every day." The council listened in silence. "When I got older, I could have stayed on Earth and gotten a safe job, but I wanted more. I wanted to see the stars. I wanted to do something that would make Molly proud of me, so I studied alien languages. I worked hard. I joined the space program." Jake paused. His voice was shaking a little. "I know I am not a warrior. I know I am not strong or brave or special, but I would do anything to protect the people I love. I would face any danger. I would fight any enemy. Not because I am not afraid, but because my fear does not matter when someone I love needs me." He stopped talking. The room was completely silent. Then, one by one, The elders started to nod. Some of them had tears in their ancient eyes. Queen leaned forward on her throne. "You speak of love and protection. Among our people, those are the highest values. You have the heart of a human. You passed the second trial." Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him. 2 trials down, 1 to go. The third trial was called the Challenge of Body. This one scared Jake the most. He had to fight a warrior in single combat. The arena was open to the sky. Hundreds of sat in seats around the edges, watching. Jake stood on one side with a simple wooden staff. His opponent, a female warrior named, stood on the other side with the same weapon. Was younger than but just as tall. Her 4 arms spun the staff like it weighed nothing. She looked at Jake like he was already defeated. The fight began. Jake lasted about 3 seconds before knocked him to the ground. He got up. She knocked him down again. He got up again. She hit him so hard that his staff flew out of his hands. The crowd laughed. Jake's body hurt everywhere. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead. But he did not stop. He picked up his staff and faced again. She hit him, he fell, he got up. She hit him, he fell, he got up. This went on for 10 minutes. Jake never landed a single blow on. He was too slow, too weak, too human. But every single time he fell, he got back up. Finally stopped. She was breathing hard, not from the fighting, but from something else. She looked at Jake with an expression he did not understand. "Why do you keep getting up?" she asked. "You cannot win. You know you cannot win." Jake wiped blood from his eyes. His legs were shaking. Every part of his body screamed at him to stay down. "Because giving up is not an option," he said. "I don't know how to give up. I never learned." The arena went silent. Dropped her staff. She walked over to Jake and placed one of her hands on his shoulder. "I yield," she said loudly. "This human has defeated me." The crowd gasped. The judges stood up in shock. "He never touched you," one of them said. "How has he defeated you?" Turn to face them. "He defeated my spirit. I broke his body over and over, but I could not break his will. Among our people, the will is everything. I cannot fight someone whose will is stronger than mine." The judges looked at each other. Then they looked at Queen. The Queen smiled slowly. "The human passes all 3 trials. The bond is valid." The crowd erupted in cheers. Jake almost collapsed, but was there to catch him. She held him up with 2 of her arms while the other 2 gently touched his wounded face. "You are full of surprises, Jake," she said softly. Jake coughed. "I don't feel very surprising right now. I feel like I got hit by a truck." Laughed. That same warm, deep laugh he had heard in the meditation room. "Rest now," she said. "You have earned it, my husband." This time, Jake did not complain about the word. 2 months passed after the trials. Jake's life became something he never could have imagined. He spent his days learning customs and training with. His nights were spent talking with her about their different worlds. He learned that had been born into a noble family. She could have lived a life of comfort and luxury. Instead, she chose to become a warrior. She wanted to earn her place in the world, not inherit it. Jake told her about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests, about his small apartment and his messy room, about his sister Molly who was studying to become a doctor. They were so different, but somehow they understood each other. Then the war came. It started with a message. Every screen on Harmony Point suddenly showed the same image. A dark figure with no face, surrounded by shadows that moved like living things. "We are the Wraith Dominion," the figure said. "We have watched your galactic conquered for centuries. You are weak. You are divided. You are prey." The voice was cold and empty, like wind blowing through dead trees. "You have 1 month to surrender. Give us your worlds, give us your people, or we will take them by force." The message ended. Panic spread across the station. Jake learned the truth about the Wraith from. They were an ancient species, older than almost anyone in the galaxy. They did not build or create. They only consumed. They moved from civilization to civilization, eating everything in their path. They had fought them before, thousands of years ago. They had barely survived. Queen called for a war council. Every species in the Galactic Concord sent their leaders. They gathered in the Great Hall of Harmony Point to decide what to do. Jake stood with the human delegation, translating quietly for Ambassador Hayes. The meeting was not going well. "We cannot fight the Wraith," said the leader of a small species with blue feathers. "They are too strong. We should negotiate." "Negotiate?" shouted the leader of a species of giant rock-like beings. "You cannot negotiate with creatures that eat planets. We should run, find a new galaxy, start over." The room exploded into arguments. Species blamed each other for the current situation. Old enemies used the crisis to settle old scores. No one could agree on anything. Ambassador Hayes watched the chaos with a calm expression. Then she stood up. "May I speak?" she asked. The room went quiet. The humans were the members of the Conquered. They were also the weakest. No one expected them to have anything useful to say. Queen nodded. "Speak, human." Ambassador Hayes walked to the center of the room. Jake followed her to translate, even though most of the species understood Standard. "I have listened to your arguments," Hayes said. "Some of you want to surrender, some want to run, but I want to tell you a story about my people." She paused and looked around the room. "Humans have faced extinction many times. We have survived plagues that killed half our population. We have survived wars where we almost destroyed ourselves. We have survived climate disasters that nearly made our planet unlivable." Her voice grew stronger. "Every time people said we were finished. Every time they said there was no hope. And every time we proved them wrong. Not because we were the strongest. Not because we were but because we refused to die." She pointed toward the screen where the Wraith message had played. "The Wraith see us as prey. They think we will run or surrender. They are wrong. Earth will not run. Earth will not surrender. We will fight. And if we die, we will die on our feet, not on our knees." The room was completely silent. Then Queen stood up from her throne. She walked down to stand beside Ambassador Hayes. "The Empire stands with humanity," she announced. "We will fight." One by one, other species stood up. The species that had been fighting each other for centuries suddenly found themselves united. Jake felt a strange emotion in his chest, pride. He was proud to be human. Over the next week, the combined forces of the Conquered prepared for war, was assigned to lead a strike team. Their mission was to destroy a Wraith outpost near the border. If they could cut off the Wraith supply lines, it would buy time for the main fleet to prepare. When Jake heard about the mission, he went to find. She was in the training room, sharpening her weapons. All four of her hands worked at the same time, each one holding a different blade. "I want to come with you," Jake said. Did not look up, "No. I'm your partner, your husband, I should be with you." "You are not a soldier." Her voice was flat, final. Jake walked closer. "I know I can't fight like you. I know I would just get in the way in a battle, but I can help. I see things differently than your people. I think differently. That might be useful." Finally looked at him. Her golden eyes were filled with worry. "I could not bear it if something happened to you," she said quietly. Jake reached out and took one of her hands in both of his. "And I can't just sit here while you risk your life. I know you're trying to protect me, but partners protect each other. That's how it works." Stared at him for a long moment, then she sighed. "You are the most stubborn human I have ever met." "I'm the only human you've ever really met." She almost smiled. "True, fine, you can come, but you stay behind me at all times, understood?" Jake nodded, understood. The strike team left 2 days later. Their ship was small and fast, designed to slip past Wraith defenses. The team was made up of 12 warriors, all of them veterans of hundreds of battles, and one human translator who had no business being there. They reached the Wraith outpost after 3 days of travel. It was a dark space station, covered in shadows that moved and twisted like living things. Just looking at it made Jake feel cold inside. The team moved through the station silently, led the way, her 4 arms each holding a different weapon. Jake stayed behind her, holding a small gun that a child could probably lift with one finger. They reached the core of the station. The plan was to plant explosives and get out before the Wraith knew they were there. But the Wraith were waiting for them. Shadows came alive all around them. Creatures made of darkness with too many teeth and too many claws poured out of the walls. The warriors fought back with incredible skill, but there were too many enemies. Jake saw get surrounded. She was fighting 3 Wraith at once, her 4 arms a blur of steel and death. But a 4th Wraith was creeping up behind her, hidden in the shadows. Jake did not think. He raised his small gun and fired. The shot hit the Wraith in what might have been its head. It screamed and dissolved into smoke. Spun around and saw Jake standing there, the gun still raised, his hands shaking. She killed the remaining 3 Wraith in seconds. Then she grabbed Jake's arm. "The mission," she said. "Focus on the mission." Jake nodded. Together with the surviving team members, they planted the explosives and ran. The station exploded behind them as their ship flew away. Jake watched the fire through the window. His hands were still shaking. He had just killed something, a living thing. He did not know how to feel about that. Sat down next to him. She had a deep wound on her left shoulder where a Wraith claw had cut through her armor. "You saved my life," she said. Jake shook his head. "You would have seen it. You always see everything." "I did not see that one. It would have killed me." She reached out and touched his face with one of her uninjured hands. "Thank you, Jake." Jake looked at her wound. "You're hurt." "It is nothing." "It's not nothing. Let me help." He found a medical kit and started treating her wound. His hands had stopped shaking. He was too focused on taking care of her to be scared anymore. Watched him work with soft eyes. "You are a strange human, Jake." "I know," he said, "but you married me anyway." She laughed, that same beautiful laugh that had started all of this. Outside the window, the remains of the Wraith outpost burned in the void of space. The war was far from over, but for the first time, Jake felt like maybe, just maybe, they could win. The destruction of the Wraith outpost changed everything. News spread across the Galactic Concord within hours. For the first time in recorded history, someone had struck a blow against the Wraith and lived to tell about it. And at the center of the story was a human, a nobody translator who had joined a strike team and saved the life of the Queen's own bodyguard. Jake became famous overnight. He hated it. Every species in the Concord wanted to meet him. Reporters followed him everywhere. Children dressed up like him for festivals. There were even songs being written about the human who laughed at death. Jake just wanted to find a quiet room and hide. The war continued for 3 more months. The conquered forces won some battles and lost others, but the important thing was that they fought together. Species that had been enemies for generations stood side by side against the Wraith. And slowly, very slowly, they began to push the Wraith back. The final battle happened near a dying star. The Wraith had gathered their remaining forces for one last attack. If they broke through the conquered lines, nothing would stop them from reaching Harmony Point and the core worlds beyond. Jake watched the battle from the command ship, standing beside Ambassador Hayes. He was not a soldier. He could not fight in space battles. All he could do was watch and hope. The battle lasted 18 hours. Ships exploded like tiny fireworks against the red light of the dying star. Thousands of lives ended in moments of fire and silence. But in the end, the conquered won. The Wraith flagship was destroyed by a combined attack from and human ships working together. The remaining Wraiths scattered and fled into the darkness between galaxies. The war was over. Jake found in the medical bay after the battle. She had led a boarding party onto the Wraith flagship itself. She had fought her way through hundreds of enemies to destroy their leader. She had survived, but barely. She lay on a bed, her silver-blue skin covered in wounds. Her golden eyes were closed. For a terrible moment, Jake thought she was dead. Then she opened her eyes and saw him standing there. "Jake," she whispered. He rushed to her side and took her hand. "I'm here, I'm right here." "Did we win?" "We won, it's over." Smiled weakly. "Good. I promised I would keep you safe. It would be embarrassing to die after making that promise." Jake laughed even as tears rolled down his face. "Don't joke about dying. I can't lose you." Her eyes widened slightly. "You mean that?" "Of course I mean it. You're my partner, my wife." He squeezed her hand. "My home." His eyes filled with tears too. In 300 years of life she had never cried. She had not thought she was capable of it. "I love you, Jake," she said. Jake leaned down and pressed his forehead against hers. "I love you too." 1 month later, there was a ceremony on Harmony Point. The Galactic Concord gathered to honor those who had fought in the war. Queen herself presided over the event. Jake stood before the Queen in his best clothes, feeling awkward and out of place. Beside him stood, fully recovered and wearing her ceremonial armor. The Queen looked down at Jake with her blood-red eyes. There was something warm in them that had not been there before. "Jake of Earth," she said, her voice carrying across the great hall. "You came to us as a stranger, a small human who got lost looking for a bathroom." The crowd laughed. Jake felt his face turn red. "But you have proven yourself in ways that no one expected. You showed us the strength of human creativity in the trial of mind. You showed us the depth of human love in the trial of heart. You showed us the power of human will in the trial of body." The Queen stepped down from her throne and stood directly in front of Jake. She was so tall that he had to look straight up to see her face. "And when war came, you did not hide. You fought beside us. You bled for us. You saved the life of my most trusted warrior." She reached up and removed something from her own neck. It was a pendant made of white crystal, the same material as her crown. "I grant you the title of friend," she said, placing the pendant around his neck. "The highest honor any non can receive. You are now and forever part of our people. Our enemies are your enemies. Our home is your home." The crowd erupted in cheers. Jake did not know what to say, so he just bowed. The Queen was not finished. She raised her hand for silence. "There is one more matter. The soul bond between you and was born from accident. It was completed through trials, but it was never given freely by both parties." She looked at Jake with a serious expression. "I offer you a choice, Jake. You have proven your worth beyond any doubt. If you wish, I will dissolve the bond with full honors. You can return to Earth as a hero. You will owe the nothing. Your duty will be complete." The hall went silent. Everyone watched Jake, waiting for his answer. Jake looked at. She stood perfectly still, her face showing no emotion. But Jake had learned to read her over these months together. He could see the fear hiding behind her golden eyes, the fear that he would leave. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said, "I made a joke that day because I was scared. I said was amazing because I didn't know what else to say. It was stupid and random and completely by accident." He turned to face directly. "But you know what? I meant it. I didn't know I meant it at the time, but I did. You are amazing. You are the kindest, strongest, most incredible person I have ever met, human or alien." He walked toward her and took her hands in his. "I don't want to go back to Earth. I don't want to dissolve the bond. I want to stay here with you, not because of fate or duty or politics, but because I choose to, because I love you." Stone Face finally cracked. A tear rolled down her silver-blue cheek. "Do you mean that?" she whispered. "Every word." Laughed. It was the most beautiful sound Jake had ever heard. Then I name you my husband, Jake, again, properly this time." She pulled him into an embrace with all four of her arms. The crowd roared with approval. Queen smiled. And somewhere in the back of the hall, Ambassador Hayes wiped a tear from her eye and thought that maybe humans were going to be just fine in this galaxy after all. 1 year later, Jake sat in his new home on the capital world. He worked as a cultural ambassador now, helping humans and understand each other better. Still served as the Queen's bodyguard, but she always came home to him at night. He was writing a message to his sister Molly. "You're not going to believe this," he wrote, "but I got married. She's 7 feet tall, has 4 arms, and could probably kill me in about 6 different ways. She's also the kindest person I've ever met. Come visit soon. The Queen wants to meet you, and before you ask, yes, I'm happy, happier than I've ever been." He sent the message and leaned back in his chair. Through the window, he could see 2 suns setting over purple mountains. Molly's reply came an hour later. It was only 3 words. "Only you, Jake." Jake laughed and closed his eyes. The galaxy was vast and dangerous and full of wonders, but he had found his place in it. He had found his home. And it had all started with a bad joke and the courage to stay.